Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another AITA story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for calling my ex a horrible mother and cussing her out in front of our children after she punished our daughter by taking away her prosthetic? Hold up. Even in the title of this story, it was like an emotional roller coaster. Am I the asshole for calling my ex a horrible mother and cussing her out in front of our children? Right then, pause. You're like, yeah, dude, don't do that. And then you get after she punished our daughter and you're like, yeah, still. And then you hear by taking away her prosthetic and you're like, whoa, hold on. Hold the phone. Surely not. Let's find out. My ex and I have an 11-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son, and divorced shortly after our son was born. We're both still single, and I get the kids every other weekend. My daughter, unfortunately, had to have her left arm amputated due to cancer as a toddler, and now she has a prosthetic. Our daughter recently got into trouble at school. She helped several of her friends cheat on what's essentially the elementary school equivalent of final exams. This knocked their final grade down a letter, and she got all of them suspended for 2 days plus 3 days detention. My ex was punishing her and just asked me to follow the basic guidelines if nothing else. No electronics, no hanging out with friends, yada yada, which was fine. When I went to pick up the kids on Friday, I noticed that my daughter didn't have her prosthetic. While she doesn't always wear it, she always takes it with her when she comes over. That was odd, so I asked her what was up, and she told her mother had taken it for the week. You've gotta be shitting me. I was enraged, but kept it together at first. I went inside and told her mother to give me her arm, and she said fine, probably because I looked like I was about to have a coronary. As I was leaving, I told her I was going to talk to my lawyer about having custody changed, and she followed me to the car and said I was trying to spoil the kids, and this is why she's misbehaving. I lost it. I called her a terrible mother and went into a bit of a frenzy. I cussed her out in front of the kids. I said if I had my way, she'd never see them again, and said some other very colorful insults. By the time I left, both the kids were crying, and we all felt terrible. I don't regret what I said, but maybe it was wrong for the kids to see it. Either way, I decided not to punish my daughter at all for cheating, detention, and not having an arm for 4 days was enough. Am I the asshole for calling my ex a horrible mother and cussing her out in front of our children after she punished our daughter by taking away her prosthetic? No! Oh my God. Okay. What? I have never heard of taking away an appendage as a punishment, let alone an elementary school aged child. This is a punishment for cheating, for helping her friends cheat on a test. She took away her arm. I have a feeling that this very quickly ends up in what's the word I'm looking for? Is this abuse? Is this? I mean, it seems like this would be categorized as abuse, and that would be grounds for doing a custody change. At least getting a hearing for it and reviewing everything. We don't have any updates or anything from OP here, but surely authorities have been involved here. I was thinking for a second that Dad was picking up the kids and some of her friends, but no, that wasn't the case. I was like, if it was the kids and some of her friends in the car when all of this was going down, that would have been worse, but it wasn't. It was their 2 children. I'm sure seeing parents fight like that and get ugly like that is enough to make them cry. It's a scary thing. But OP did the right thing standing up for her here. Someone taking a prosthetic as a punishment is terrible. This is also giving Gypsy Rose vibes, right? It's like this level of control leads to a completely unhealthy way of living. Like it's a prosthetic. This kid has already had cancer and lost a limb as a toddler. Maybe you don't ever use the prosthetic as a weapon ever, because that's just a shit thing to do. I don't think anybody with a functional moral compass would ever contemplate taking a prosthetic limb as punishment for an elementary school child, let alone anybody ever. I mean, unless you were getting chased by someone who was trying to kill you or something and they had a prosthetic leg, then you could take that because that's in your own survival self-interest. Taking it for nefarious reasons, taking it to punish someone, taking it to exert control on someone is never okay. Never, ever, 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 ever okay. NTA for Dad, OP here. We are very quickly going to get to Mom, though. I don't know that we need to reference the scale because I think we all know how shitty this is. And it goes straight to the top. Yeah, no. someone who would do this to their own kid. You know what, honey, you really pissed me off today. I'm going to send you to school without your arm. I just want you to feel completely embarrassed. It's not embarrassing enough or hard enough to adjust as an elementary school kid in a class where you're the only one who has a prosthetic arm. I'm going to take it from you. Now, OP does say that she doesn't always wear it. So she's used to not wearing it apparently. So it was at least easier for her. It wasn't it wasn't like she had worn it every day, all day. And then just one day showed up without it. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't make it okay at all. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss for words here. I didn't know that there were people this shitty out in the world. I mean, it would have been great to be able to hold it all together and to, have this conversation in private. That would have been ideal. Confrontation in front of kids is never ideal. But if you are defending your child, I think that there are times when you have to. And there are times when that's also beneficial to them. Obviously, conflict isn't good for them to see, but to see someone standing up for them is. I think you know where I'm going with that. It's to know that someone has their back and to know that someone will do right by them and to know what's not okay and to see a parent especially draw a boundary and say, this is not okay. You will not do this to my child, I think is healthy for them. It sucks seeing the parents fight, and I'm sure it was scary, but seeing that someone has their back is a big deal. So there is a silver lining to it. Candy Thunder finds all these stories, and whenever she finds them, sometimes I'll hear her reactions to them as you go. And again, I never read these stories until we're actually recording them, so that I have a blind react basically. But sometimes I'll hear her talking about them, or she'll give me the Cliff Notes versions of it. And most of the time it's this reaction. It's just like what is happening out there in the world? I do not understand. I don't understand. Obviously got to a point where they were frightened and they didn't like to see that. And I think kids normally, don't like to see their parents fight like that. And I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that was the way to go. It would have been much better to do that a different way. However, at least his daughter saw him standing up for her. It's the silver lining in it. It's not a good thing to have happened, but at least she saw somebody standing up for her. And that is a big deal.